Okay, okay, we'll go ahead and get started. As I think everybody knows, unfortunately, the legislative session being what it is, none of the legislators are able to make it, but the organizers, the League of Women Voters and others, wanted to make sure everyone still had a forum. I know many of you filled out a sheet. I think to speak, everyone will get a chance to. The order will be random in which I pull it. Being that this is the last one, I want to once again recognize all of the sponsors, the Evansville Public Library, the League of Women Voters, of course, the United Neighborhoods of Evansville, Teamsters Local 215, Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 136, the Evansville Teachers Association, Valley Watch, NAACP Evansville Chapter, and the AARP Indiana. This is a short session. Next year is a longer one. There's the chance that we will run into this next year, but as most of you or many of you will know, long sessions will deal far more with budgetary finance issues, and just a lot more legislative things will come up. It tends to, frankly, be more controversial because of the nature of what they can tackle. So I expect these meetings to be every bit as engaging and as they were this year. I probably hasn't been planned yet, but I think on those long sessions, typically there's 4 instead of 3, so we can expect that. Now, before we get started, I think you wanted to recognize somebody.
Yes, I did. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Again, our apologies. League of Women Voters would like to recognize somebody whose help has been just so important to us. We could not manage this without him. So, Darren, we would like to thank you for your help and provide you with a small stipend.
Okay, so for this forum to come and speak your mind with everybody, just to add some organization to this, we've allowed 2 minutes, and obviously when it's all over, you all are welcome to mull around and chit-chat. Just a point of personal privilege. I have 2 kids, 7 and 8, that are running around in this library. I told them to behave. There is a chance they come in and ask for iPads or something, so my apologies if that happens. But okay, first off, Bart Heath, who wants to say something about minimum wage. He didn't even pay me for that.
Yes, this is for, my name is Barton Heath, and I wanted to speak on minimum wage, and obviously this will be for next year. I had previously mentioned that they had passed a wage law in 2011 that had restricted the cities, towns, and counties from passing minimum wage laws increasing the minimum wage. I think that's oppressive. I think there are paid representatives and they should have no say in oppressing when they are the ones that license the IURC to, or license the utilities to impose wages on us, impose fees on us, excuse me, and that they should not have the option to repress the very least of the people and the representatives. I think it's inherently wrong. And for the people whose wages that we pay through our taxes to say that we don't deserve representation when it comes to the minimum wage is like, all I can think of is Ronald Reagan when he called people welfare queens. Who's the welfare queen when you're earning money off of our taxes and then you're telling us we're welfare queens? I think that change needs to happen. People say that it's not, it's a moot point. It's only a moot point if you're not the one that's not making enough money to eat. And I think the Centerpoint case is the perfect representation. We're being imposed these fees, and being told that we don't matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Bart. Sean O'Daniel, immunity from lawsuits against the gun industry, Bill 1235. Sean, oh, there he is.
This bill has gone through the gambit, has gone through many steps, and I believe it has passed both in the Senate and the House, and now been signed off by the President, how do I pronounce it?
Pro tem.
Yes, pro tem. And going to the governor's desk. Basically, it protects the gun industry from any lawsuits. The firearm and ammunition manufacturer, trade association, seller, or dealer gun industry makes an estimated $9 billion in revenue annually. Now, that sounds like a pretty big number to you all, I know. But honestly, on the other flip side of the coin, the gun violence costs United States victims that are wounded or killed by suicide, homicide, or accident an estimated $557 billion in rescue, medical treatment, and therapy or funerals every year. So, do the math there. 557 billion divided by 9 billion. Really, who's more important, the gun industry or the citizens and the victims? $9 billion of gun industry revenue that results in $557 billion of victims' surgeries, paralysis, therapy, and funerals. Why do you write and pass House Bill 1235 giving protection of lawful commerce in firearms and ammunition and any consumer's reckless use of your products? Every other product manufacturer, like alcohol, tobacco, automobiles, and pharmaceuticals, are strictly regulated. In any way they market their products safer to the communities or the consumer, especially products for our youth. Why not firearms and ammunition?
Thank you, Sean. That's for me, thanks. Before I forget, also, there is a representative in the back with a group called Evansville News Lab. They're looking for ways to help improve local journalism, and so on your way out, if you don't mind taking some time to take a real quick survey that they have, that will help them out. Next up, Niles Rosenquist, who wants to speak on the PFAS bill, House Bill 1399.
Well, I have some good news from the legislature. At the last session here, I was prepared to speak against the PFAS bill, which is, PFAS, these are these forever chemicals which we keep hearing about, very serious health hazards. And in Indiana, there was a plan to create a unique Indiana definition for PFAS chemicals that would have excluded thousands of them from any future regulations. Anyway, by the last session, it had passed the House easily, and it was in the Environmental Affairs Committee in the Senate. Fortunately, there was a big contentious hearing the next Monday, and then the following Monday, the bill was tabled, which means it was supposed to be dead, but of course nothing's ever dead. Thursday morning, just a couple days ago, it was inserted into a irrelevant bill, House local affairs bills dealing with sanitary sewers and landfills and stuff like that. And by Thursday afternoon, I don't know, we need a civics lesson here from somebody, but by that afternoon, that landfill local affairs bill passed without the bad amendment in it, so that's good news. Now I got to say, Ryan Hatfield, I had a pass out, and he commented favorably on my opposition to this at the last meeting, and actually I made my phone calls to Senator Becker and Tom's Thursday morning, and actually Tom's aide called me back a couple hours later and said, hey, they'd been working all morning against it, so we got some help. And anyway, There's still no regulation on PFAS in Indiana, but it won't be, have this crazy limitation on it.
All right, next up is Christopher Norick on utility bills.
Good morning, y'all. First off, I want to thank everybody that came out to the IURC hearing. It was unprecedented turnout from this community and all the counties surrounding us. It was truly like an unprecedented amount of folks turned out, were very well educated, and let the IURC know that we do not want to see a gigantic 30+% increase in our electric bills. So thank you again. This ties on to my comments at the last Meet Your Legislators that, we give the IURC a lot of grief, and they do have a lot of control over these rate issues. But they are regulated by laws that are passed by the legislature. And I had a list of 9 last time. I didn't really kind of go through them because of the limited 1 minutes, but this goes all the way back to 2014. There were 3 really serious ones that passed last year. That was 1421, 1420, and 1417. Those all cost us money, and they were passed by most of the House members that are normally up here, with the exception of Hatfield. He usually never votes for those. But the other House members in our districts have voted yes for all of those. And some of them have voted for all 9 of them. Wendy McNamara in particular has voted for all 9 of these bills that cost us money in the long run. So my point is, IURC, yes, has a lot of responsibility for our bills, but so does the legislature. And keep that in mind when you vote this November. Thank you.
I just have to say, Chris is so incredibly knowledgeable and so effective in his advocacy. And for everyone that's opposed to these increases, I think Chris really gets is a big part of that. So congratulations, Chris. Okay, Linda Alderman, sales tax on utility bills.
Tying in with that, I did attend the meeting. I was quite impressed and very proud of the community. I'm a member, a local AARP member, and I'm also a retired nurse living on a fixed income. Luckily, I own my house, but I was surprised that we are paying sales tax on our utilities. I consider that an essential, like food or medicine. And while it may not be a huge dollar amount, it's the idea that it's just one more expense put on an already inflated bill. Talking with friends that live out of state, they're amazed at what we pay and how we pay it and how often it goes up. And I thought maybe the sales tax, not having to pay the sales tax, since that deals with our legislator, although that body doesn't always seem to appeal to doesn't always seem to represent the majority of the people in their district, that is an item that could be removed from our bills. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, Vicki Small, rent escrow legislation.
Thank you. Vicki Small. I'm speaking today as a representative of AARP Indiana. As legislators are no doubt aware, 2 years ago, there were bills in both the House and the Senate that would have allowed renters who are living in substandard housing to pay their rent into escrow, supervised by a judge, and the landlord would have to fix the property to bring it up to the property into a level that they could live in. And then once they did that, The escrow would be given to the landlord, so they're not losing money. This doesn't affect good landlords. They take care of their property. It affects the landlords who are absent, many of them living out of state, or the ones who are just buying property and don't care what condition it's in. Neither of those bills passed either the Senate or the House. So I am asking the legislators to look at these bills next year. Please sponsor one, and let's get this passed for the good of our citizens. Thank you.
So that was the end of those that had filled out a form to say anything. Is there anyone else who would like to offer comments? I saw a couple sneak in at the end. I assume maybe you heard, but our legislators were up very, very late last night working on legislation, so they understandably were not able to make it down this morning for this Meet Your Legislator session. So we've opened it up as a public forum, but everybody that's filled something out has come up. Is there any additional comments? Teachers Association have any words of wisdom for us? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Lori Young. I am the president of the Evansville Teachers Association, and I've also taught chemistry and physics and biology for 28 years. I want to say thank you to our legislators who did work very hard yesterday to remove collective bargaining. There was a law going to be passed that they wanted to remove the right for teachers to be able to collectively bargain. That is not good for teachers. It is absolutely not good for our students. So I do appreciate that. In the future, I hope that our legislators will continue to remove anything that is like that to get rid of collective bargaining. We do not need it in our state. Education is already so controlled by our legislators. I mean, I would like to be able to talk about class size. I do think when you get 40 kids in a class, that's a little too much to teach. But that was stripped away from me. So I'd actually like to see them actually reinstate full collective bargaining for teachers. I think it would help everybody in our community. Thank you.
All right, well, no other to speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay, coming up.
Hello, I'm Jean Webb, and I'd like to speak about one of the very many things that the state legislator has done to help out the utilities at the expense of consumers and our planet. And one of those is when they killed net metering for solar. Net metering is when you got as much credit for how much electricity you put on the grid and you were able to use it later. So the legislator passed SB 309, where it was going to be monthly, is what we understood it to be, so that you would settle up the account of what you put on and what you sent back at the end of the month. But instead, the IURC interpreted it as an instantaneous, and we ended up with a terrible, terrible solar credit called excess distributive generation. And it started out at only like 2.88 cents, and then it went up to a respectable 9 cents where people could actually put solar. But now all over the state, it's dropping again. So people that have solar, they're not able to get their investment back, and it tightens the monopoly of the utility. And it is the worst state now in our entire country for putting solar on your roofs. And we need solar on roofs, or else we're gonna use up all our agricultural land. So if you don't want your agricultural land taken up with solar, we need to have it on rooftops and parking lots. And so I would like for the state legislator to address a fair compensation for a customer-owned and produced solar electricity. Thanks.
All right. Well, if that's that, I know there are still coffee and donuts. Again, as a reminder, Evansville News Lab would be interested in your thoughts on a survey, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next year. Yeah.